Hey people, welcome back to Sam's Garden Project. Today I'm going to spend the afternoon in the garden. It's a gorgeous sunny afternoon here in Melbourne. I need to pull out some plants, I need to plant some more seeds, I need to do some tidying up and some harvesting. So just come along with me as I ponder around in the garden. So I've got my seed case here ready to plant some more seeds, but I want to try and get some of these last remaining plants in the ground. So these are kind of like my herbs. I've got oregano, some chamomile, yarrow, and there's some basil which I planted the other day, which they haven't popped up yet. But I want to plant a new round of like some herbs and veggies, just some stuff that I haven't done already, and then plant these out in the garden so they can get a bit bigger and healthier and enjoy the beautiful sunshine that we've got. So first I want to check on the passion fruit vine. It's had plenty of flowers on it, but I'm not sure if any of them have been pollinated. It doesn't look like any of them have been pollinated. The flowers just kind of shrivel up and die, like that one there, that one. So with this one that I just see, let's give it a little jiggle. Let's see if it pollinates. But I really want some passion fruit. But there's plenty more flowers. I think there's one more over here. Try and get that pollinated. Also want to show you these paper daisies. They are starting to become really gorgeous and in full flower. So you can hear that crackle. That's why they're called paper daisies, because they feel like paper. But the colouring are beautiful. These pinks, whites. These self-seeded, so I had them in this pot last year and they've just come back naturally. So just a quick little overview. We've got beans here, carrots, cabbages, poppies. I think I might do some flower pressing as well, so I might come around and cut some flowers so I can put them in the flower press just to preserve these gorgeous flowers. Underneath we've got calendula, poppies, even these white ones, these pink and white ones, they're gorgeous as well. So we've got poppies. At the back there are the zucchinis. They're doing really well. They've really taken off in the last few days. These red cabbages I'm going to pull out. They're not heading up at all, and it's really not the season for them anymore. Over here, the cucumbers, they're starting to put on a bit of growth too, which is nice. So it's probably been about 2 weeks since I first planted these in my last video, so they're getting a bit of growth in them. Same with the tomatoes, they've put on a bit of growth as well. I might stake them or trellis them or do something just to support them today, because the wind has not knocked over, but they've kind of on a bit of a lean. If you can see this one, it's kind of on a bit of a lean as the wind has come through. So I'll just trellis them to be somewhat straight. Over here the leafers are doing good. They've put on some growth as well. I need to tie that one up to the trellis. This one is just kind of chilling out there. Jalapenos, capsicums, they're doing okay, putting on some more growth. And that's a bit of an overview of what we did recently. I've just been doing weeding yesterday, and just here and there a little bit of weeding, but it really needs to be done. I've got a gorgeous aloe flower, and I saw this the other day. We've got a pomegranate flower in there as well. Plenty of things happening, plenty of lush growth. We've had plenty of rain over the last week, and now the sun shines out. I think more rain's coming tomorrow, but that's okay. We'll work on the garden bit by bit when the weather allows. I think what I'm going to do first is just plant some seeds. We'll get that out of the way, get them watered in, and then they can start the germination process. So first I'm going to just empty soil into this container just to make it a bit easier for myself in potting up. So I was going to plant in these pots here, but I think I might just go straight into these trays. I'm only going to be planting a few different things, and I can separate them by like lines in this tray. It just saves having a lot of soil use in each of these pots, and it saves repotting them on later. They're only going to get to a certain size, and I want them to go into the garden pretty quickly so they can grow. So I'm just going to keep these pots for something else, maybe for next year. So that's now done. I've put some soil in the tray, and now I'm going to put my seeds in the soil. What I'm going to do, so I know what's what, I'm just going to make little lines in this pot, in this soil tray, and I'm going to plant them directly into these kind of rows. I did a digger's order and I got these Joe's Long Cayenne chili. So we'll put them in one row, see how they go. For me, there's no point having seeds that, like, if you want something, there's no point having a massive store of them when it's their season to be growing. So I'm going to plant, there's about 30 seeds in here I think I saw, and see germination rate of 85%. So we'll see how many pop up, and it's their season. They grow in summer, they're a chili. So if I don't grow them this season, there's no point holding on to a whole packet until next season. So let's do this. Alright, so that packet's all done. I'll keep it just for some information if I need to refer back to it, but that's on the first row. This is mainly for my knowledge. I can look back on this video and see that first row is the Joe's Long Cayenne chili. Next row I might do some herbs that will look completely different when they've sprouted, so maybe some lemon basil or sweet basil or something like that. I don't have any basil at the moment. I planted some basil out and it died. I want to plant a whole bunch of basil in seed today because I planted some out with my tomatoes, and 3 out of 4 plants have died, or I think they got eaten actually, because they just disappeared. So I'm going to plant a whole bunch of basil, sweet basil, bush basil, lemon basil, all the basils, because I love fresh basil, as anyone would. The smell of fresh basil in cooking, pizza, pastas, everything, it's beautiful. So I'm going to have a few of these rows in my seed tray as basil. Yep, so I got my sweet basil. This is an old packet. I'm not sure of the expiry date. It's like I rip off the bottom and that's always where the expiry date is. But we'll see how they go. I'll just plant a whole heap. And then we can have lots of basil. That's not the worst thing in the world, is it? So there's still heaps of seed left in this packet. I might save it for a late summer sowing. We'll just cover these. Alright, so we've got chili and the first lot of basil. Might do a lemon basil. Lemon basil next. And there's still some seed left in there, so I'll just leave that for another time. With the chili, another thing is that I planted all the seed that I have in that packet, but I can quite easily save the seed from the chilies if they grow really well and I really enjoy them, and if they're good eating. So if they're nice and hot for my partner, I don't like hot food, but if they're nice and hot and they grow really well in my conditions and in my garden, I will save the seeds for them easily for next year. And if I do that, I'll make a video on it. What else do I want to plant today? Basil. Maybe holy basil, maybe that. I've got plenty of sage. Got some chives going in a pot already. I've got all my veggies are pretty much in, so I've got plenty of zucchini, plenty of capsicums, loofahs, cucumbers, tomatoes. They're all in at the moment. I'm gonna direct seed some radish and beetroots if I pull out enough space. Chili, what have we got in here? Carolina Reaper chilies are, I'll show you. I repotted the seedlings up into their own little pot. They're just here. And so they're growing away quite happily. They're getting bigger. Not quite big enough to put into the garden yet, but that's okay. I've got some cosmos, one cucumber plant. These are just the extras. Tomatoes and pumpkins. Some of these didn't pop up and they're really old seeds, so that's okay. What's this one? Hang on. Lemon balm. Hang on. This one's lemon balm, and I just saw some green bits then, so that's exciting. A lot of them, these herbs that popped up, a lot of them died because we had a hot day a few weeks ago and they just didn't like it. So let's go back to seed planting. I might do a packet of jalapenos because my plants, I overwintered them and some of them have died, but my partner really enjoyed the pickled jalapenos that I made and using them up, so I'm happy to make a few more jars of that. So let's plant the jalapenos out. Put these back in their little line and cover them over. Perfect. So then we've got jalapenos in. I'm actually going to adjust these lines because I think I could fit one more in. So we'll just flatten that out a bit again. And we'll go 1, 2, 3. I'm not fussed if they're cramped. They are going into the garden in warmer weather, so they'll grow a lot more and a lot quicker compared to coming out of winter and spring where the temperature fluctuates a lot. When these are ready to go into the garden, hopefully it'll be consistently warm and they'll take off straight away. So I have some snake beans. The ones I planted disappeared from seedling. I planted them in the ground, and I think possum or birds or something got them because the seedlings just disappeared. So we'll do the rest of the snake beans, and I got the bush bean strikes. I did plant these last year and saved some seeds, so I've got the saved seeds still in my pantry, but I'm going to plant the rest of these out. I do have half a bed of the bush bean. I'm not sure the variety of those ones. I don't think it's strike, but I do have half a bed of bush beans already. Bush beans, I'm happy to grow a lot of beans because they're such a simple thing to grow, especially the bush variety that don't require trellising, and they do quite a large harvest. They produce quite a lot, and it's easy just to have beans, like steamed beans with dinner, or you can freeze them up, or easy to like preserve in large quantities. So I'm going to grow lots of beans. Let's plant these. So we'll just spread these out a bit evenly. And they got a bit heavy towards the end here. Perfect. So bean seeds all in a row. Let's cover them over, push them in. They probably need to be a bit further in the ground than, say, basil seeds, just by their size and how big they are compared to basil and herbs. So we've got a row of the bush beans in. I think I'll do a row of snake beans next. And so I reckon for my last row, I might do a flower. I might do some marigolds because I haven't got any of them going yet. I do have a whole bunch of safe seed as well, but I think I might just use these ones up first. A lot of my containers in my seed organizer are empty now, which is good because it means I've planted a lot of things ready for summer. If I need any more, I can easily buy some, but hopefully that's it, and then I can start saving my own seed. And then cutting down that cost of buying seeds. So let's get these marigolds in the soil. Oops, that came out a bit too quickly at the top here. Let's just spread them out. Marigold seeds are like this weird, that's dirt, this thing. It's not going to want to focus, but it literally looks like, I don't know, a hair or something, like a, let's zoom in on that. That's what the marigold seeds look like. I just need to put these all back in the row because they went everywhere as I poured it. Okay, seed tray done. I'm just going to put a light layer of soil on top and then water it in. While I'm in the greenhouse, I have I'll just show you my garlic harvest. So we took these up in the last garden video and I put them to dry in my greenhouse, and I think they're pretty much dry because they're all dead and peeling, really papery, which is great, but they're a bit small. So that's the reality of growing your own food. You don't always get perfect harvests, but these would be great for like slicing in half, putting in a roast or something. I can't be bothered peeling all these individual cloves because they are quite small. There's a couple good ones, like that's decent, but it's already starting to open up. Yeah, there's some good ones, but overall they're quite small, so I'll just put them in a jar. Like, I'll clean them up, cut the roots and the tops off, put them in a jar, and then if I want to do like a roast dinner or something, I'll just cut them in half, open them up, and then put them straight into the roast with the skins on and everything, just to infuse that flavour. So I think it was a success. They did have rust on them, but I'm happy with the harvest. It's still useful. You're still using the food, you're not letting it go to waste. And I grew it myself, so that's a bonus. So at the moment, at the bottom of this veggie bed, they were garlic chives that have just popped up. I think they were already there. And then I've got a little container with calendula, which I can move out the way. But I think along the base of this bed here, I want to put my chamomile, so it gets enough sun. It's a low-lying, enough shrubby kind of bush, and so it won't get too high. And it will just be like a nice border on the outside. So let's plant them. I don't think I'm going to plant them here because it's rocks, big rocks there, and it's like not very good soil. So I think I need to put some compost down first, amend it a little bit, and then I'll be able to plant them. I might plant them around another bed though. I think I'm just going to plant them at the end of the jalapeno bed just for a bit of flower, because the bases of all these garden beds are not very good soil and I need to dig all the rocks out, so I need to do some prep there before I plant anything in. So I think I am going to plant something at the bottom of this bed here. I just got the rocks out, not this one where I was talking before, just here. I've moved the lavender and got some rocks out, and I'm going to plant a yarrow plant there. One yarrow planted at the base with a nice little rock border. Hopefully the birds don't dig that one up. So I'm just going to spend the time and tidy up the rocks down here. So I might plant something here. We'll see if it takes a lot of time or not. To plant these in so they can get soaked in by the rain tomorrow. I'm going to do a chamomile in this corner. So that's the finished product there. I've got chamomile with a little rock border, topped with some compost. My logic behind doing this for all the beds, you can see I got some flowers there. I want to try and do it with all of them, is that it prevents it, well hopefully, it'll prevent the weeds popping up. So I'd rather have something growing like flowers or herbs or just something as a ground cover rather than weeds, because then that saves me having to do the weeding. And pulling out weeds between the rocks and the pavers is a nightmare. So we've got chamomile in there. I've got my calendula that I planted a while back. Got my yarrow there. My garlic chives. That just self-seeded, I think, from the lemon balm over there. That's gone nuts. Lemon balm there. And hopefully next year, and as the season goes on, they'll just fill in. It'll fill in. It won't go too tall. I can always cut it back when it gets to the height of the garden beds. And then it'll just add something extra to the garden without taking away any of my growing space for veggies, because as you can see it's heaps going on at the moment. And down here I did this a few months ago coming out of winter. It looks really good with alyssum, purple and white, and a poppy that's self-seeded as well, so it'll be interesting to see what colour that turns out to be. So I just had this orange off the tree. I just found it. I thought it was still on the tree, that's why I left it, but it was just sitting. It was just resting like that. And I knew it was there. I knew the orange was there, but I didn't realise it had already come off. So hopefully, like, it's a bit soft, but hopefully it's still ripe inside. Let's just take that off too. Oh, that doesn't look good. I think what I also want to do is harvest these onions. You can see that one is formed and the top is like bent over. The tops are bending over. I'm going to let them dry out a bit more as well, but I think the season for onions is well and truly over, and I think I want to clear out this bed for something else. So let's pull out the onions and maybe the kale as well, but I'm not sure what to do with the kale. Maybe we'll leave the kale. We'll just do the onions for now. That's a nice size there. So I'll let them dry out and they can form their skin. You see it's a bit green at the top stem still as well, but that looks really good. So as you would have seen my garlic in the greenhouse, I have these containers. They were just found off Facebook Marketplace. They're so good for storing things in and like airing them. There's plenty of ventilation around, so I'm just going to pick the onions and then put them in this bucket. Look at that. Wow. That's a nice size onion. A few little ones. Little ones are still good. You still chop them up. Food's food. This one isn't very round, but you can see how thick it is. So I might definitely use that. That might have actually been a spring onion to begin with that I got from the supermarket, because the base is it's like solid, same. So that's going in the fridge as a spring onion. These onion seedlings I just got from Bunnings. I did try and grow them from seed, but they just didn't do very well. I planted them out, and I think the birds just kept digging around and they just got buried. So some of these small ones might be from seed that I planted, but I feel like some of the bigger ones are from Bunnings that I bought, which is fine. It's okay to buy seedlings when things go wrong. See, this one looks the same as the other big one. It's like not much of a base at the bottom, but it's got all this greenery on top. So that's a spring onion. So right in the middle of this bed here is a potato plant, and you might leave them in if you see any volunteer potatoes, but I think the people who had these garden beds in this house planted potato in almost every bed. And the thing about potatoes is if you don't harvest them all, or if you leave even like the tiniest little like bit of potato left over, it'll just reshoot. And so I've been digging out potatoes for the last 2 years. I've had these garden beds, so it's coming out. Some of them I do leave if it's like nothing else going around it, but I want to use this bed for something else, so I'll pull it out. Sometimes there's a harvest, sometimes there's not, so let's just see. Nah, but you see all these roots that has been cut off, so it'll resprout. There's still something in the ground that'll shoot from. At least the green is gone. I usually compost these. Actually no, I just put them in the green waste bin because I do not want more potatoes around. If they have attached to a big like seed potato, I have pot them in like separate pots. So like replanted them in a separate container, and I have harvested some, so that's a good way as well to grow food. Volunteer potatoes. They also sprout from like potato skins, so if you put peels in a compost bin or in your worm farm, you might find that they sprout from the potato peels, but they're notorious. Don't plant potatoes if you don't want them year after year. I changed my mind a little bit. I went and got some snippers. I'm going to cut a lot of the kale off, and then I'll pull out the stem. So I'm going to cut off the ones that are usable, and we'll go from there. You don't want to be wasting food around here. So that's all that's left of the little kale trees. I've just left a bit of the tops of them because you can see it's going to seed and they're all really tiny. So I'm going to pull these out, and I reckon the chickens are going to get these. That's the harvest we got. A nice big load of kale. I'm going to take the inside and wash it, along with the onions at the bottom and some spring onions on the other side that we pulled out. So straight away they're pecking at that. They love eating greens, and it saves them putting in the compost. It's just providing eggs. The greens that have gone to seed, or I'm not going to eat, or it's the end of the season, chickens will eat it. But this is now the current state of this garden bed. Let's put some compost on. So I think the last few things I'm going to do is pull out that red cabbage that was in that bed, and I'm going to water in with my hose. I'm going to water in all those plants that we just planted at the bottom of those garden beds. So this one's heading up a little bit. We'll keep that one. This one can come out. Go on the other side. It's way too late for them to be heading up. If they haven't already formed it, then I don't think they will. That one's nice. It's got a little head on it. This one. What do you think? Do you think if I leave the cabbages they'll head up or they'll just bolt? If you're in Melbourne, let me know what you think you would do. Ooh, I spy a zucchini. It looks like it's been pollinated because it hasn't shriveled up and fallen off yet. There's one, and there's one just here. That looks like it might have been pollinated too. So we'll have zucchini on the menu soon, which is good. In the meantime, I'm going to give the chickens this red cabbage as well. Nothing gets wasted around here. There you go, chickies. This setup has been really good for the chickens, no issues. Just the midday sun, they get a bit of sun unless there's any shade. So we've cut the pear tree back quite a bit, but the lemon tree's grown to kind of take its place a little bit to provide the shade. I'll show you these other cabbages that I have. They're forming a head, but I'm not sure whether they will go to seed. It's quite firm, actually. I might harvest that in a few days time after all the rain tomorrow. I don't want to harvest it when it's been hot and it's all wilty. And there's another one at the back, so I'll check that out as well. Maybe tomorrow after all the rain that we're meant to get. So to finish off my afternoon in the garden, I'm just going to water in some of the plants we planted. So I know it's a warm sunny day and we're going to get some rain tomorrow, but I don't want them to die. And we've got the chamomile here as well. Nice, good water in. Look at this jalapeno. Look at all those little fruits forming. It's so good. That plant is the only one that's gone nuts. The rest of them are slowly starting. This one's starting to come back, that one's starting to come back. But they've got some fruits on the back there too, some flowers, but this one, heaps. I'm not sure why. Water in the yarrow that we planted. And get these water too. Some lavender popping up. The French variety rather than the thick, like this big flower, not a really fine flower. So they're doing well. Silver beet, this is going to seed. I'll pull that out in the next couple of days. And I'll harvest some more carrots too. There's some of them are going to seed. But I harvested some the other day and I put them in a beef stew. And I preserved up some broccoli, some beetroots that was at the back of that garden bed. Cool, so that's a bit of a garden update. Did a few jobs on this gorgeous afternoon. And I'll see you for my next video. Thanks guys.